Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you had a great time yesterday and you're ready for some more networking discussions and exchange of ideas. Please take your seats as we are about to start a panel, Digital Assets Marketing under a Magnifying Glass. Please give a warm welcome to our moderator, Andrea Badiola Mateos, Chief Commercial Officer, Finance Magnates Group.
Thank you, Dushka. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the second day of sessions at Finance Magnates London Summit. We're on the 10th year anniversary. I'm sure you have heard it already a few times. It's a big thing for us. I want to welcome you to a very special panel, very close to our heart, because we're specialists in digital marketing. So it's a great pleasure to welcome such panel of experts. We had two people missing, unfortunately, due to sickness. There is a bug going around, so watch out yourselves as well. Last-minute dropouts, but I'm sure that everything will be more than covered with our three experts, and I hope that you get very good insights. We'll try to do a Q&A at the end of the session. I'm going to start by asking each of you to introduce a little bit yourself, what you do, and then we'll get right into the conversation. Kimberly?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kimberly Waldron. I'm co-founder of a Fintech specialist PR agency, so been in around the space for nearly 15 years, and that's evolved a lot, as you can imagine, from 2008 to now. Talking about fintechs, it's changed a lot. So,
thank you. Maxim?
Hello, hi, Maksim. I'm Senior Fintech Lead at Aleph Group. What we do is we are the media buying official representative of our biggest social media platforms such as Twitter, Meta, Reddit, Snapchat, TikTok, and etc. So my role there is to lead the fintech industry globally with clients who are trying to be present on these platforms. At the same time, work on not only educating them, making them compliant, so covering not only ads integrity, let's say like that, but also like help with content creation, and strategies as well. So that's about me.
Thank you, Maxim. Go for it.
Thank you. My name is Massimo Moretti. I'm a founder and CEO of SIGNVM. So we're the first Web3 powerhouse accelerator and venture studio based in Paris. So basically, we started a few years ago working with Web3 native projects, so GameFi, DeFi, NFT, Metaverse projects, helping them to accelerate the strategy, branding, go-to-markets, and strategy. We also work with brands, luxury brands, so especially with LVMH, Richemont. So we help them to accelerate the positioning, the development into the Web3 ecosystem. Tokenization, metaverse, NFT drop, etc. And basically, through the powerhouse is the consulting part. Inside the accelerator, basically we accelerate the growth of startups, Web3 startups especially. And through the venture studio, basically we're developing our own products. And one of our products is a platform that connects top-level Web3 startups with top-level investors, VC, family office, and business angel, only focusing on Web3. And we work with top-level startups from 300K fundraising to 1 billion valuation. So we have very large kind of clients.
Thank you all. Thank you, Massimo. So we're going to get right into the discussion. As you can see, we can get very, very interesting insights from these three brains. We're going to get started a little bit on digital marketing generals, and then we'll dive into NFTs, web, metaverse, social media, all the other fun topics as well. So in your opinion, what does a successful digital marketing, digital assets strategy look like? Who wants to start? Massimo, maybe you want to go for it.
It's a hard question. Well, it depends which kind of target we're talking with. If it's a bank, a brand, a corporate. So right now, I think the tokenization will literally revolutionize the market, because right now it's just the beginning. Like let's say the DeFi, the decentralized finance ecosystem, it's just like 20 billion, but I think in a few years it will be 100 billion. So we're just at the beginning of decentralization of all, let's say, our economy in general. So right now, 50% of all the worldwide banks are accelerating and working into digitalization of assets, tokenization, etc. So I think it's just the beginning, and we're just exploring. JP Morgan announced a few days ago they will tokenize so many stuff and Bitcoin, etc. So I think it's just the beginning of a huge revolution. So, and going back on marketing, I think it's what's matter right now and the challenge for banks and all let's say players is starting with a proof of concept, right? And in some local and specific region. And talking with community, receiving feedback from clients, targeting new generation, because I think it's a very important and fundamental challenge for banks, for corporates, even for brands, to position themselves as a thought leader in the industry. And many of them, there's a lack of reactivity, and I think it's still the moment to accelerate this positioning. So.
Thank you, Massimo. Kimberly?
I think it's still marketing, whether it's digital assets, physical assets, a service or a product, it's still fundamentally about connecting an audience with a product, a service, and I think it's still super important to realise that at this point, when it comes to digital assets and decentralization, that it's still the main principle, is that no matter what the digital marketing approach is, it's still about connecting that audience. So when it comes to digital asset marketing, it's about building community first, I would say, and making sure that you're connecting with that community and building trust in that community and understanding that no matter what that digital asset is, you need to understand and demonstrate that you know why that audience finds that valuable.
I'm sure that Maksim has something to say when it comes to community, for sure.
Yes, actually. One of the things I'm kind of noticing all the time is that everybody's just trying to, there's always some kind of an agenda, right? But like there's, what I see also that things like content should be, for example, be more suitable for diverse audiences. Each channel, for example, has its own challenges and nuisances. So making sure that the content and the educational part is involved into the whole story of the whole narrative of introducing this brand to new audiences is also very important. So, for example, Twitter as a platform, you know, they have their own very, very high audiences. Meta has a different kind of set of audiences and so on. So making sure that the content actually is suitable to that channel is very, very important.
And is digital marketing necessary these days? Is it a must?
I would say
Yes.
so, yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brands that, for example, in what I've seen in Asia lately, that they focus a lot on traditional media buying, right? So, but at the same time, we're trying to talk about digital things, right? So digital should be part of that strategy in a kind of a logical way, right? So having this digital aspect kind of helps also introduce your brand and what you do, your projects, to new audiences, new diverse demographics, to people that are more mobile, for example, and not only just in front of TV screens or reading newspapers.
I would say that digital marketing revolution, what that opened up was a more interactive conversation with potential audiences, potential customers. And that couldn't be more important than it is now when you're appealing to digital natives with digitalized products, decentralized products. So in terms of digital marketing in this context, it's essential because you need to have that two-way. As Maksim was saying, it's about listening and understanding and identifying where people are getting their information, what are their conversations, where are they taking place, and where are they learning about this area that is still new to everybody.
What about all those brands that are very well established and they already have their client base, they have been operating for like 50 years, and they believe that, you know, they already have their customer base, they're not looking to grow exponentially, they believe that their customers already know them, maybe they're local. Do these kind of brands also need digital marketing? Do they need any kind of digital presence other than just a website?
100%, because obviously digital marketing can be split into various categories, whether that's from leads into the top of the funnel, meeting new customers, or to, you know, lead nurturing and continuing a conversation, albeit at arm's length via an email marketing campaign. It's different touch points with different purposes at different times during that customer journey. So essential.
And yeah. Massimo.
Yes, definitely. And talking about community, maybe I can give you like a very tangible example. So when we've launched, so one of LVMH group brands called Hublot, the watch brands. So we decided to target the ENS community, right? Because we understand that people that love watches and that are into the Web3, so it's a match of between these two communities, right? And so ENS is Ethereum name service. So it's a very active community because it's the entire community around ENS. And we've launched for the first time in the world, so Hublot.eth, which means that Hublot can accept crypto payments, yeah. And it was a huge success because the entire community were like very happy that the brands, Web2 brands, understand the Web3 and understand them, right? Because think about this, I mean, Web3 is not just technological revolution, it's also a cultural revolution. So a few years ago, I mean, everybody can own fiat money, euro, dollar, etc., right? But a few years ago, owning crypto, which means that you're part of the community, and this is a big game changer, I think, in the industry right now.
I think it's also about building trust because of some of the things that have taken place and some of the sort of backlash from people like Elon Musk. I feel like he's topical at the moment, but his criticism that Web3 is a Silicon Valley fad. That's element of trust and regularity that and directness that digital marketing can bring is important.
I would just add that for the well-established brands that have been here for a while, that already have trusted users, communities and everything, what these communities like to see is what these brands are doing these days. So if you're not present digitally and you've been in the game for some time, these people will simply lose touch with what you do as a brand. And we know for sure that digital in general, all these channels that we talk about, the diversity of the audiences is so huge that you really need to be mindful and specific with content. So talking about what you're up to these days is very, very important because the ecosystem itself is changing every day.
So in your opinion, in your eyes, what are the most valuable digital marketing channels that a brand should use? And what are the latest SEO trends that you see nowadays? Because it's been a big trend for many, many years. It keeps being a big trend. It's one of the main ways to garner traffic and have a main presence. So what do you see?
I can talk about that, I guess, from a different perspective, from a B2B PR perspective. And for us, it's about, obviously, Google will never disclose its full strategy and suite of services, but it's about understanding how SEO is moving to a more nuanced approach, how AI is helping content rankings through broader relevancy, through passage, through understanding relevant topics within deeper dive, larger content pieces, and tagging that into bigger world issues or critical issues that help with rankings, so things that are affecting lives on a global basis. So for us, it's about understanding the bigger topics, the critical topics, how to appeal to rankings and AIs and things like MUM from Google, when it's about getting relevant issues within larger pieces and thinking about what those search terms and more complex search requirements might be. So that's organic PR from a B2B space.
So you would say that it's recommended to connect world-class news, for example, that are having momentum to specific topics within your company or your industry, etc., in order to have more relevant rankings.
Yeah, in order to make that more globally and universally interesting, and then appeal to the rankings.
Very practical tip like that. Massimo.
I would just add that based on the all these clients I've been working through years, what I've always seen as a trend is that people put all their eggs in one basket, basically, which is not something I would, for example, suggest, because it has its it's narrowing down potential reach. It's also not allowing you to reach some audiences that might be potentially very, very interested into what you're offering. At the same time, what we're currently doing at Aleph is when we try to onboard, for example, new clients to either crypto or CFD or NFT or blockchain in general, what we do is we try to make sure that each website that we overlook, each profile, each site that we check is actually compliant to that platform. So making sure that they follow the best practices, best guidelines available. At the same time, our own internal research that we have since we're working directly with these platforms. We know exactly how things should look like, right? So what we do is we kind of curate each channel basically to the company, so that everything is very diverse, but at the same time, if they're talking about something, they're talking about the same thing.
Thank you. Massimo?
I think one of the social network that brands or corporates still and need to leverage is Twitter, that's for sure, especially in a Web3, because Twitter is definitely the number one social network for, let's say, the Web3 people. So basically, when we've launched You'll on the Web3 on Twitter, it was like a crazy, amazing launch, and the community was there. So which means that, yeah, Web3 native people are definitely on Twitter, that's for sure. Also, more and more Telegram group, but it's quite hard to manage. Many brands are asking us like if they need to set up like a Telegram group and managing, you know, different channels. But I think it's maybe not the best social network. But I think nevertheless, like Discord could be a really interesting network, and more brands are developing their own Discord server. And I think definitely Discord will be probably not just in the gaming, you know, because Discord was, I mean, it's more like a social network for gamers, let's say. But now more and more brands, and maybe tomorrow corporates, they will organize a Discord server in order to understand, maybe for customer experience, customer service. Probably Discord could be an interesting opportunity for developing different communities, different chats, very well organized. So this could be an interesting door to open for corporates and brands.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the big don'ts in digital marketing. Those have been shifting throughout the years. Both search engines and social media channels have become more specialized, identifying loopholes and these kind of things. What are today and for 2023 the big don'ts in digital marketing that you would tell people, just, you know, do whatever you want, just don't do this?
Don't confuse volume of content production with good digital marketing. If you want to create digital assets, it's about creating things that are going to have an ongoing value to your marketing strategy.
Long term.
So it's not about churning out a volume of blogs or that are also quite, you know, time and resource intensive. It's about creating websites that have tools or things that are going to get repeat traffic by themselves, sort of, you know, having something on there that's maybe a form of gamification or a way of finding information or a way of calculation that's going to encourage people to come back, or pieces of content that include data that are going to be relevant for 12 months, that are going to, again, automatically generate repeat visits and repeat high rankings. So subtle difference between just churning out content and really understanding a digital marketing asset that's going to have a long-term life cycle.
I agree. Maxime?
Because I worked at Twitter before, I know how difficult it is as a channel to actually be present on and advertise on it. I would say don't, again, just like I said before, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try to diversify the channels that you're being present on, because each of these channels has a very specific audience or community you can build there. At the same time, when it comes to community building in general, being present in the moment, following trends is very, very important, because tomorrow might be something completely else that you might be looking at. And for example, FTX, like, you know, just something that happens overnight, you can't really influence anything really. So you have to build around it. At the same time, content, it needs to be educational. It needs to talk about what you do. Don't just focus on lower funnel solutions. Do some branding. Talk about your brand. How are you doing things? Build this trust that people are actually looking at from brands these days. It's key, I would say, for especially for next year, because we're entering a very, very challenging time where people are losing faith in brands, right? Because of all these things that are happening. So building this kind of in-depth look into what you do as a brand through this kind of educational piece of content, a bit of upper funnel marketing will very, very much help to build this kind of trusty community that will actually also convert into long-term clients.
Thank you. Massimo?
Well, I think brands and corporates should think like as decentralized autonomous organization, which means that not just publishing contents, but engaging the community, right? And how to do that, asking them what they think, how they can build something new in terms of product, in terms of customer experience. So this is, so we're coming from an audience to a community, to a meta community. And I think now it's time for even corporates thinking completely different, how they can engage the conversation in brand decision making, even in financial results, etc. So I think, yesterday brands, corporates, they were having like an audience, but today they have the opportunity to build a real community, right? But they need to engage them with the right messages at the right moments, in the right place, and understanding where the new generation and the new customer are, right? So I think, so don't just, publishing for publishing stuff, content, but how you can engage the community in brand decision making and financial success of any kind of company.
Don't assume and don't ignore the data, I guess, and what's happening. I just have one to add as well. Again, coming from a fintech, especially B2B agency, so don't ignore the incumbents or don't ignore the Web 2. I mean, we get a lot of digital asset and digital finance businesses now saying, oh, you're not a typically Web 3 agency, but we need to engage with you because we're launching an NFT, or we're even going to an ICO, or we're still in that world. How should we have a Web 3 or a Web 2 agency? Well, still a lot of the traffic, a lot of the interest and a lot of investment in digital assets is coming from big VCs, likes of Sequoia and others. So it's appealing to the new generation, but also not assuming that that's the only audience that's listening. There's still a lot to be considered by balancing that message between Web 2 and Web 3, if that's how we're categorizing it, I guess.
Yeah, one thing I would add to everything that you guys have been saying, I totally agree with all of the points. I would say, particularly for B2B brands, service providers, etc., there is always this temptation when you're doing marketing to judge everything based on performance. The actual performance, everybody's laughing, yeah, they know what I'm talking about. Everything is based on performance, so you just look at numbers. But when you're a B2B brand, do not do everything just based on performance, because your brand as a service provider is the value of it is what you build over time. And you're giving a service to another professional, not to a retail that is going to find you necessarily through a social media and make a purchase right there, right then. You're building trust, you're building community, and this takes time. So numbers are good and they're a reference, but do not make decisions just based on performance, or you'll get it all wrong. Agree?
Yeah. PR, so definitely don't just.
You would be surprised. People actually expect leads from PR, which is shocking.
Lovely when it happens, though.
Yeah, it's just the exception.
We have the ability to, for example, collect sentiment analysis and similar based on the campaigns and activities that our clients are running on various platforms. And each time you include a bit of branding on top of everything that you do, just performance-based, really, it adds its value. And we can show this actually to clients in numbers as well, which is very, very interesting, because then they see the feedback directly based on what they do.
Wonderful insight from firsthand. I want to touch a little bit on Web3 community, actually, NFTs, and all this new generation that we have. Many of us, despite young, we're not from that generation, and there is a lot of businesses nowadays that they want to get into the space of NFTs and Web3. How do you cater to that audience? What kind of insights can you give business owners on how to appeal to that audience?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think many brands are trying to understand how they can jump into the Web3. And I think, so many brands started a few years ago by just launching NFT collection, like this, because it's trendy, right? But I think, that's true. Yeah. And with no vision, no strategic plan, very short-term vision. Okay, we did that. Oh, that's cool. What's next? So I think, and now it's now it's a bit different, right? So all the top luxury group in the world. We're talking with LVMH, Kering, Richemont, L'Oreal, Chanel, etc. So all of them now, they understand more and more what is Web3 and how they can benefit, how they can leverage, the NFT, the metaverse. But there is two things that they need to keep in mind. First is the audience, the community, right, and the content. If you launch something on Sandbox, let's on the metaverse, you need to be aware that it's not because you just open let's say a boutique, a shop, it's interesting and you will create value for your customer, right? If you create the same thing, the same shop, etc. in the metaverse, it's not interesting. You need to make something different, something more creative, something more engaging, right? So and now brands, corporates, even banks, HSBC is also on the metaverse. But what exactly they're doing? What value they're bringing to their customer? I don't know for the moment. So I think it's very challenging for any brands, any corporates to how they can leverage this universe. And I think the answer, probably one of the answer is how the community can participate to the brand decision making, right? It's very important to understand that. And before asking something to the audience, what are you able to share with them, to give them, right? And I think brands, corporates need to start by asking themselves how they can, give something to their audience, to the community, right? So I think this is an important point to keep in mind.
Just to add to that, it's again, I think I said it earlier, so I'm repeating a little bit, but it's understanding what that audience finds valuable. So if you think about, I guess, the move from cassettes and CDs to digitalized music, there's a time when I found a cassette and the cassette holder and the insert and the history of and the design of that and holding the cards and reading the track list. I found that valuable. That now is shifted, now it's the access, it's the access to the music, it's the playlist, it's the interaction. It's a completely different mindset, and it's the same with, say, Nike launching their digitalized collection of trainers. To me, as somebody who has a collection of trainers and is a trainer fan, is a sneaker fan, I have to shift my mindset so dramatically to understand why anybody would want to own a digital pair of, and I know, but it's a lifetime ownership of something that you can change, you can recreate digitally, you can design, it's a completely digital mindset, and it's moving and understanding that what you communicate has to hold value for that different mindset. It's not an easy shift.
Yeah. That's precisely why I think that it's useful to go ahead.
I would just add, don't forget the power of a really good story. If you have a good story to tell it. But also don't forget the power of feedback, because upon that feedback, you already have a community that you've built that is giving you rationale how to improve things that you already have. And just act on that feedback.
Another question related to that. So we're talking about putting ourselves in the shoes of this community and all of these actors. Where are they? Where can we find them? It's not the Web 2 industry. Do they go and read the news like everybody else from the other generations? Do they only go to Twitter? Do they go to Discord? Are they on Telegram? Are they everywhere? Are they nowhere? Massimo, maybe you want to get this one.
Well, yeah, as explained, I think there are definitely Twitter is one, and especially because Elon Musk is, there is like huge trend about Twitter, especially right now.
We're going to talk about Elon, don't worry.
Yeah, and Twitter definitely it's the place to be for the Web3, not just only Web3, but definitely this community is here on Twitter. Like you can follow on Twitter the FTX news, like each minute, there is something new, and so definitely Twitter. Yeah, Discord also. It's where the people are communicating, right? It's more, let's say, a communication channel. Not so much for news, but more for communication, staying in touch. Reddit also. It's booming. I think it's strangely TikTok. It's becoming also something new, but it's also a very interesting channel because there are million of people there, and it's very dynamic. It's very cool, and definitely the young generation is there, and even in the Web3, right? So yeah, there are on whole social network. That's for sure.
Mostly social networks, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's about how you participate in that as a brand as well. If you think the whole Web3 mindset is about decentralization and moving away from power, the big tech companies, the big search engines, and placing that back in the hands of the individual, you don't want to recreate that by observing and being voyeuristic and you're just listening. I think it is about being part of those communities in a meaningful way and participating on a level which does involve listening, as we've said, but also being there, being part of it, following trends, as Maksim said, not recreating the same version of Web2 just in a different place.
Mm-hmm. Maksim, what does the data say?
The data says that more than 80% of crypto people in the industry are present on Twitter. More than 90% of NFT communities and people are present on Twitter. That's a very, very important number to take away from here, okay? Mm-hmm. And this is on one of the slides I have from the times when I was working at Twitter, because when we launched various policies around how we're going to go around promoting actual content relevant to crypto and NFTs and so on, we were very, very careful about what we say, because we've seen the numbers, right? And then the way we approached advertisers when we went live with the policy was like, people are here. What are you going to do about it? So I kind of try to do the same approach here with Aleph now, because we have a much wider, diverse channel-based audience, basically. And just like Massimo mentioned, TikTok, for example, is one of those platforms that where we see very young audiences communicating with like financial technology in a very savvy way, which is very, very interesting, because previously we would not be able to see that. We would not be able to digest this kind of information, because it would not be present. It will not be here.
What about Reddit? It has known
Yes,
to be
absolutely
a central piece in many scandals and related to crypto and online trading finance, etc.
We just actually we just signed a contract a couple of months with Reddit, so we have official representation for Reddit as well now. So which means is that we can onboard clients on this channel as well, but also we understand the value more, because we actually now have insights.
Data, yeah.
Exactly, we have data to confirm how important the research part, for example, of each individual user is when it comes to Reddit, because they really go deep. They deep dive into everything, and they really want to follow or understand what the product is about, or the project, or the brand. So it's very, very critical. So when we, for example, put plans, these top 3 channels would be definitely on top of mind of everybody.
So Twitter, Reddit.
Yes, TikTok,
and TikTok?
Snapchat as well, I would say, because again, you're looking at a different demographic who's very, very specific into, they're very niche with certain things as well. And I would say, don't forget Meta to some level. There's still kind of audiences because of the sheer reach you get it with Meta. There's still feedback you can get. There's still communities that not that much present, but there's still you can make still impact with Meta as well.
Okay, thank you all 3. I want to talk about Elon. Sorry, it's FML's 10th year anniversary. We have to talk about Elon Musk. Big thing in 2022. We have to talk about him. So Twitter is going through a massive shift, if there is anything to say about it. So what do you guys think about the direction that is taking? How is that going to affect your businesses, your clients' businesses, SEO, digital marketing in general? I mean, whatever Elon touches moves. Who wants to start? Maksim.
I have a lot of things to say, but I figured. It's just like I'm not gonna say too much. My hands are bound. But the things I can say is that from kind of a brand perspective and advertising in general, nothing changes. The only thing that will change,
except the €8 for the blue tick.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing. Officially, that's still down. So we're still waiting for updates. So there will be things to share, but in general, what we see now basically happening is user growth. There's a lot of user growth happening on Twitter. For example, they accumulated through 1 week 1.5 million users, new users. So they're on the 250,000 now, and this is growth they never experienced at the platform, simply because of changes and because of the quality of the content. and all the fun stuff that's going
And
on.
Elon.
And Elon, of course. At the same time, I know personally a lot of people that were affected by the layoffs and everything. So I'm very invested into the whole story because I have a lot of friends who literally lost jobs, you know. So from that perspective, my personal touch is like, I need to step back, you know. So, but from a platform perspective, when I do step back, right, what I see is changes in, for example, for next year, next 2 years, next 3 maybe years, is that there will be a lot of introductions to new products. He will move fast. He moves fast in general, right? He will do things that maybe some other channels do, like YouTube. For example, content creation. He will allow that. He will allow content creators to the platform, to monetize.
Such
And this is
as
going to be...
Donald Trump.
No. I'm talking about actual brands. So from that perspective, that's going to be one of the shifts. For example, where he's going to be moved to Twitter, not only as a channel where people come to communicate and have like discussions about stuff, but also like absorb and like enjoy content, more diverse content. At the same time, there will be probably some kind of payment solutions integrated into it as well, because there's a lot of talk about digital assets and how they can be incorporated into channels. For example, Jack, before when he was running Twitter, he was also creating a different app, Cash App. So basically, he kind of slightly integrated it to Twitter to some level in some countries like US, where people can easily send money through Twitter, right? So there will be things like that more and more happening on a global level, I would say, because he's going to move fast. So you can expect a lot of changes on a platform level. So Twitter might not look like in the next year as it looks like today, like a
Fasten your seatbelt.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have much time left, unfortunately, even though I would love to keep the discussion going for another hour or so, at least. But so I'm going to have to move into conclusions. Can you summarize for me, what do you forecast in trends for 2023 in digital marketing? What is it going to be the next big thing? What should people look out for? What should they focus on? We've just heard about Twitter seatbelt fastening. That's one important one. Put budget aside. What are the others? Massimo, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to say tokenization of everything. I think we are not realizing what's going on right now because it's maybe still the beginning, and many people are aware about what's going on, but we'll tokenize so many things. Like we can tokenize the real estate, we can tokenize even equities, we can tokenize anything. Why it's important and why it will be a game changer, because we can make more liquid any kind of things, right? Any assets you can buy and sell, and that's fantastic, right? So this is the first things. I think tokenization of everything, that's for sure. It is and it will be huge game changer for 2023. That's for sure. This is the main point, and the decentralization we just started, I think, but the peer-to-peer will grow dramatically this few next months, years, and I think it's just the beginning of a crazy revolution. So, and many brands, many corporates are not ready. That's for sure.
Thank you, Massimo.
I agree with everything Massimo said. I think maybe it's not quite answering the question, but I think what I'd like to see is more education and more collaboration and competition between the emerging worlds and incumbents to make more of, I guess, projections of reality. That would be mine. I'd like to see more education and more Web 2, Web 3, centralised, decentralised, sat on stage together, joining that conversation and having realistic conversations about what's really happening, what progress has really been made, where is the value, how does that impact the global economy and the global world, really. I guess that would be what I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Maxim?
Just a couple of things from me. We will see banking institutions entering Web3 and crypto specifically. It's already happening, it will happen. So next year, in 2 years maximum. What we will see also is, because of the recent events, a big disruption in trust. So people will have to build trust again, maybe even more harder than previously, because of the whole story that was happening recently, right? At the same time, content needs to be educational. Just like everybody mentioned here, it needs to be diverse. It needs to be specific. you're trying to appeal to very diverse audiences coming from literally any part of the world. So be local, be present in the moment.
Thank you. From my end, I think I'm going to add a couple of things to everything that you've said. I agree 100% with all of it. I would maybe specified by type of business, probably.
Yeah.
I would say the trends are going to be slightly different between Web3 companies or companies that want to be in the metaverse. Crypto ones, I would even put them separate from them. And then we have the fintech ones that are purely B2B, and the brokers or retail trading companies that are targeting retail audiences. So each of them is going to have slightly different thing, but I think that what they will all have in common is related to what you just said, Maxim. I think it's a lot of brand awareness, because 2022 has been a year that has been extremely volatile in the world of trading, the metaverse, all the news put together, FTX, Elon Musk, everything. It's just like has kind of imploded, and it goes very fast paced. So that makes the end consumer be more careful about the business that they do with home. So I think a big trend in 2023 is going to be brand awareness, is going to be really, really focused on strengthening your brand and the name of your brand with, particularly about your story. Like you were saying, a story really sells. So how do you do that? Then there is all these different channels, the fintech PRs that you're mentioning, the channels engaging with the community, everything in coordination. I think is going to be towards using all of these channels in different measure depending on the vertical you're from, towards strengthening the brand awareness. That would be my take, I think.
And trusting the overall industry as well.
Yeah.
Not always just about your brand.
Absolutely. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Counter is down to 0, unfortunately. I'm going to ask you for a big round of applause for all of our experts. Thank you so much. It's been really insightful.
Thank you, Andrea.